Hello, Steve White, Steve White's 89. Well, I was thinking this, but it kind of took Jessie Gender doing a video on it to sort of make it unavoidable. The only real issue I have with Star Trek Picard Season 3 is that it does indeed, whether intentionally or not, re-establish the gender norms and the very traditional views that Star Trek sort of held 20, 30 years ago without really being conscious of it, because that was kind of the norm at the time, but not very forward thinking, but still very much the norm at the time. I mean, the other Star Treks, Discovery, Picard Season 1 and 2, as much as I have issues with them canon-wise, which is mostly my issue, and their use of Section 31 and the sort of cynical, pessimistic, dystopian sort of view of the Federation and Star Trek's future and our future. My issues really are there. I haven't had any issues with the use of diversity, representation, emotionalism, and all those things, which really just speak to evolution of society and humanity, and stepping away from the patriarchal norms, expectations, and reinforcing those which really, by 200-300 years from now, would have been shifted quite considerably. And I did think they did that very well in the show, whereas most of the haters will basically criticise those things amongst the other things. So, but what does Picard do wrong? Well, they basically re-establish all that. They have straight white men again basically ruling the show and being the most important things. They're fathers, and it's all about, raising children and continuing the line, and it's all very traditional, and the trans analogy relating them to the Borg is really, really, really homophobic and destructive if you really look at it, which is something that Jessie Gender does. And it's something I was more aware of them focusing on the more traditional, and part of all the Star Trek haters who hate Discovery and Picard Season 1 and 2 really hated the diversity, representation, and the progressiveness of the show. And to take a step back and make it very traditional again, very conservative, was very comforting for them and allowed them to sort of step back into it and feel like it was made for them, because they can't handle anything not being, made for them and being traditional and conservative and everything. So they couldn't handle the show on that level. So to sort of go back and take a step back to that, I was very aware of that, but I sort of wasn't really paying attention to Seven's dead naming and that making the Borg a trans analogy. Because when you extend that and continue that and follow that through, where you see that the Borg is now the threat, not the changelings, not anything else, not any new threat. That I was hoping we were going to get something new instead of just the Borg coming back again, because we had the Borg last season and they were totally changed and rewritten and altered by going back in time and everything, and apparently made part of us again, like part of the Federation. Like they were like, I thought, now it's like they're back again and they've totally rewritten it. Now whether they did that through time or whether they just ignored Season 2, I don't know, but it wasn't something I wanted to deal with, not the Borg again and another changing of the Borg or altering of the Borg to, sort of alter last season. It's just a mess I didn't want to deal with. But to make them basically a trans analogy, and it's like, oh, they're assimilating the children, they're assimilating the youth. Basically, it's only young people who are being affected, and they're just drones. And now the old guard, the old generation, the old traditional conservative, people have to come in and save the children from being, transitioned and turned into Borg, and it's not subtle. And people are saying, well, I'm sure Terry didn't mean it, he didn't do it, and it's like, well, I think just being a traditional straight male with very little awareness of anyone else's world is how you get something like this, because it makes sense for them to make gay people, trans people the bad guys, and something to be scared of, and a threat, and change or transition or anything outside of the normal to be something dangerous and scary. And that's what they're what they're showing here, what they're promoting. So yeah, I certainly see that as something that's problematic. It's something I sort of was very aware of in the first few episodes, and now I'm more aware of, and it is very hard when you read the show like that. It does come off as very homophobic, transphobic, alarmist, and so it's and I would suggest watching Jessie Gender's video about this. Obviously not mine, because she does a better job of it than me. I'm just sort of saying, yeah, I see that now. I kind of saw it, but now I'm really seeing it like she's really seeing it, and it's really unpleasant.